Lesson 10, Biblical Principles, Part 1. I want to tell you something as we're heading into this. I may tell you again, so forgive me if you don't like hearing it, but I alluded to the fact that when we're working with sufferers, we don't counsel in the same way that we would do nouthetic counseling. So we're listening to the experience of the individual who comes to us. We're trying to help them see what really happened, come to grips with truth, see God who He is, see their situation and themselves and their perpetrator, maybe help them with some problem solving. But these next two lessons, actually everything we've done up to this, and then these two lessons are simply meant to build up and shore up your understanding of Scripture. Because when you're working with a sufferer and she's struggling with something, that's the moment you address that thing. So if she's struggling with fear, in her case, her fear may be very valid. And so you need to think that through and how God would speak peace and comfort to her. And we talked through some of those examples, like in Isaiah, and putting our trust in God and how that results in peace. But this is basically bull riders only. I don't know how many of you are in the rodeo circuit or world. Bull riding is like a whole other animal, and you don't know which way it's going to turn. It's going up, it's going down, sideways, all at the same time. That's what we're doing when we work with abuse victims and we're trying to do biblical counselors. You don't get to set the agenda. You don't get to pick the plan. You just get in there and you serve her in the way that she needs to be served. You serve according to her needs, not according to your desires. So, heads up, this is all information. It's in no particular order. It's simply ways to think about Scripture that is often misused or misapplied, and to have a grasp and a handle on it in a way that you can assist her, in a way that you can understand what's happening and how best to help. So we're going to start with resisting good with evil. Resisting evil with good, from Matthew and the book of Luke.
Matthew 5, verses 39 through 42. But I tell you, do not resist an evildoer. On the contrary, if anyone slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him the other also. As for the one who wants to sue you and take away your shirt, let him have your coat as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Luke 6:27 through 29. But I say to you who listen, love your enemies, do what is good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. If anyone hits you on the cheek, offer the other also. And if anyone takes away your coat, do not hold back your shirt either.
So when I started to work through this issue, I was getting ready to work on my master's thesis for biblical counseling, and I asked my husband, I said, now I could do this topic, this topic, this topic, and I was talking through them, and I said, I don't know what to invest. It was a 90-page paper, which honestly, for where I am and what I like, that's not a real big deal, but it's definitely an investment, and it took a lot of time. And I said, I don't know where and how to focus this. And he very wisely said to me, what do you struggle with the most? And I said, when husbands sin against their wives, I don't know how to help them. What does it mean to turn the other cheek? And then some of the other scriptures that we'll look at. So this is where I started, and one of the things I didn't understand. I've taken some time to study it, and I want to share what I have learned, because when we take the words of Scripture like off the page and we think about them in real life, which is how Jesus was using them and how he intends them to be used, I think we gain a different perspective. So I went back through I actually pulled up all the scriptures that talk about slapping somebody on the cheek. I thought, is this a cultural thing? Is this, I mean, I know sometimes people do that when they're really angry. I can't say I've had that experience, fortunately, but what does that look like? And when I looked at the references in the Bible, let me just tell you what I found. You can draw your own conclusions. But in the Old Testament, Zedekiah, the prophet of Ahab, struck Micaiah. I talked about that. I love that story about Micaiah. Okay, that's 1 Kings. In Job 16:10, Job declares, they slapped me on the cheek with contempt. In Psalm 3:7, the psalmist says to God, you have struck all my enemies on the cheek. So it appears to be, in all the examples I saw, it's someone in power showing contempt for someone who is less than. Slapping them on the cheek. I don't know, straighten them out, like get them in line. And so this may be far-fetched. You don't have to follow this train of thinking. I'm just going to explain where my brain went and how I got there using what I thought is a logical way of thinking. So the enemies of the Jews, at the time Jesus said this, the people who were in power were the Romans. And so if I'm thinking about a Roman slapping one of the Jewish people on the cheek, the people that Jesus is talking to, then I said to myself, that's interesting. You turn the cheek. All right, so they slap and you offer them the other cheek. What actually happens if you offer the other cheek? Well, if you offer the other cheek and they strike you, it's a backhand, right? I slap you, you turn your cheek. If I'm going to hit you again, I'm going to backhand you. In this day, I thought, okay, so if these are Romans, and I went back and looked, I couldn't find anything about gloves particularly. There wasn't any archaeological evidence for that. But there was evidence that what they would have had was a leather thong or strap tied around their hand, and then for self-defense, they would have shrapnel or some kind of rocks on the back side of their hand, and that's what they would use when they were fighting, and that's how they would protect themselves. So this might be going a little far, but if I were to think about it, when someone gets slapped on the cheek, if you turn your cheek, you turn the other cheek, and if that person were to backhand you and take advantage of that, the question is, who was wrong? Who did wrong? Well, the person who did wrong is the person who backhanded you, the person who hit you when you turned the other cheek. You weren't wrong. The other person was. And what is the evidence? Well, the evidence is your face bears the mark. Whether shrapnel or no shrapnel, like backhand, if someone hits you that way, it's evident that someone else lost control, or lost control, like someone else took advantage of you not fighting back. You didn't fight back. That's the point. You didn't fight back, and they took it farther than what was acceptable. If someone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have your coat also. So I got to think about it, I'm like, okay, if he actually takes both your shirt and your coat, like, I don't even want to know what you're left with. But the obvious thing is that some person is wrong. Someone has overstepped a bound. In the book of Exodus, it says this: if you take your neighbor's cloak, oh, I'm sorry, did you have that, Josiah? Exodus 22:26. Okay, go ahead. Oh, you don't? Okay, sorry. Yeah, my bad. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as collateral, return it to him before sunset, for it is his only covering. It is the clothing for his body. What will he sleep in? And if he cries out to me, I will listen to him because I am gracious. That's what God says. So if you took his outer garment and he kept it, who was wrong? Well, the person who's wrong is the person who kept your outer garment. And they sinned against you. You didn't actually sin against them, but it's going to be evident to everyone else that they took advantage of you. So the one who takes away from you, the one who sins against you, becomes evident because of his sinful behavior and because you didn't resist. You didn't fight back. You just let it be seen that you did what was right and the other person took advantage of that. So last example here, whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. So think about this. If you are required or asked to go 1 mile with someone. So again, I'm going to try to think Old Testament. Let's say that I am on my way to the well and I'm getting water to go home and take care of my family and do the rest of the day. Now, I'm not sure this would happen to women. I'm just trying to think about what does it mean to go the extra mile. So someone stops me and makes me go with them 1 mile. How long would it take me to go 1 mile and back? That's what it would require, right? So I have to go back to where I started. So if I'm walking at a brisk pace, that might take me a half hour. Leave my water jug, walk with them 1 mile, walk back, and then get on with my routine. But what if they force you, or what if you offer and they take advantage of you and you go 2 miles? Well, if I leave my water jug and I go 2 miles, that means I have to go back 2 miles. And now we're talking an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And I get to the well late, or I don't get the water, or my family is hangry, and all of these other things start to happen. And who took advantage of the situation? It wasn't because I took advantage of the situation. It's because I was taken advantage of. It's not my fault. And it's very evident that the person who took advantage of me is at fault. So the idea that Jesus presents is you are not responsible for the person who sins against you. And it's very reasonable and right for other people to see the sin for what it is. You don't return evil for evil. You return good, and you trust God with the outcome of that. And you trust God to make it evident that you are being sinned against. So that was very different than what I originally thought. That is main idea 1. So we'll take a break, and then we'll be back with number 2.